Slide two brothers meet one another when they slide up to the mic. It's bread and butter with one another. Let's start up that recording light.
Hello everybody and welcome to Bread and Butter, where we're serving up the basics the average Hearthstone player needs for Hearthstone improvements. Today Doc was not able to be on the show tonight. Hope he's feeling better. Just needed a little day off. But we have a special guest host tonight filling in, JustAGuy. Thank you for filling in again tonight. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here. I'm sorry under the circumstances that Doc's not doing good, but I certainly send him all my good wishes. So I'm sure he'll be back next week.
He'll be back next week. I'm more than certain, and we will troop around while he's gone. And meanwhile, we have another special guest tonight, BanditKeith. How are you tonight?
I'm great. I banished Doc to the Shadow Realm this week, and we got JustAGuy. I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
It's perfect. With the two of us, Tito doesn't need to be here. This could be just fine.
We can definitely experiment with that one of these days, I'm sure. So, Bandit, what have you been doing inside of Hearthstone and outside of Hearthstone?
So inside of Hearthstone, I'm usually playing in High Legend. Usually either I find a deck that is tier 1 and I grind it until I get a good rank, or if I hate the meta, I innovate and I tank my MMR and just play whatever I want.
Fantastic. Anything interesting going on outside of the game?
I mean, I work at a bank. I'm not really that interesting.
Kind of disappointing. Doc's not here again because he just started working at a bank. So you guys could have talked banknotes and stuff. That
Talk shop.
Talk a little shop. How about you, JustAGuy? What have you been up to lately?
Coincidentally, I'm playing High Legend most of the... No, I'm not playing High Legend most of the time. I'm just sort of slowly starting to grind my way through it. I've been behind the Hearthstone curve for a while since we moved out here a couple months ago, so I've been really sort of delayed in getting there. But now with the mini set finally coming out, I know that's a spoiler alert, I'm starting to focus more on it and try and grind my way through it and putting the competing card game that keeps buying for my time aside a little bit more.
I mean, it should be a snap to play a little more Hearthstone.
Yeah, whatever that game is.
we freely talk about it here. I enjoy the snap myself.
So Tito, what about you, sir? Yes. What do you do in Hearthstone and outside of Hearthstone?
Well, look at you, professional podcast man. I love it. So excuse me. In Hearthstone, I've been struggling on the journey from Diamond 5 to Legend. I go through this like every other month where I just haven't been able to find a deck that clicks. And I think I've settled in on Big Spell Mage this turn. I saw enough of them for a while, and I figured if you can't beat them, join them. And that I've had some success with until the most recent losing streak. But over the next few days, we'll get there. I am pretty confident. Outside of that, been playing in the World BG League and with the Hype Horizon team, and it looks like this week we are going up against a team that includes both Pocky Plays and Happa Bear, which, given that I am not of that caliber, should be interesting. But you can squeeze out wins with Battlegrounds if you get the right comp. So I'm looking forward to that and hopefully adding some, bragging rights to my resume. But
that sounds fun. You mentioned the Diamond 5 to Legend is always sort of the difficult time. Diamond 5 is such a delightful comfort level because once you hit there and you know you can't drop, you sort of can mess around with things a little bit, but it's the grind to Legend that is a real hard time for a lot of people.
Oh, and it's not just, that's the pluses and minus right there, because you get people that hit Diamond 5 and that's where they end. And then you start seeing
what my kids call it.
Oh, absolutely. But what you end up seeing there is all kinds of shenanigans. Like in the last week, I've run into Reno Hunter. I've run into some weird Quest Warlocks. I've run into
Sure.
Reno Quest Mage. So
You
it's
can
less,
experiment with everything safely, sure.
but it makes it harder to climb if you're seeing a bunch of nonsense and you can't predict the patterns. So I mean, it's fun, but it's also adds another layer of challenge.
Yeah, that's interesting because for me, I feel like if I was facing all that junk, I would just absolutely smash it into Legend. With like for me, that Diamond 5 to Legend is literally, it's just another day at the office for me. I get the 11x, so it's like every win is two stars. It's crazy. So it's kind of funny, hearing that perspective, because for me, I can't even relate at this point. I'm like so detached from what that experience is like.
Well, it's interesting you say that. It's almost like the two of you are segueing me into the next thing. Excuse me. I started up a new project, and I've been dabbling in content creation. And what I've always wanted to do was, like, I am not a very high level Legend player, and I want to increase my rank up and become a bigger performer. And instead of being at a 5-digit number, I'd like to get into the 3 digits. I'd like to get that 11x, so that way the grind from Diamond to Legend is not easier, but different. I know that you play a higher caliber of player when you're there, but you also get 2 stars. And it's one of those things where I feel like I'm a good enough player at this point where I shouldn't struggle from Diamond to Legend. I belong there. I have confidence in myself, but there's some issues there. Like, there's some reason I can't get there sometimes. I missed Legend for the first time in I don't know how long in December. Granted, it's a busy month, but I should have got there. So one of the things I started to plan was I was going to start making some content about finding the flaws in my game and how I'm approaching it, and journaling that and making it into a project of like content and streaming and everything, where I say, how do I start getting to an 11x? Not that 11x is really the main goal, but it's kind of a way to tangibly express the end goal. And I was talking to Keith here a few days ago, and he was like, yeah, there's another streamer I was talking to that was talking about how to get into that mindset of becoming a higher Legend player. And that's when, like, the project that I had on the back burner kind of clicked, and I was like, this should be a collaboration project. So what I'm in the process of doing now is gathering up a few different individuals who are also in the same situation, where they're Legend players or almost Legend players that want to become high Legend players and want to get themselves in a position to do the same thing and also make content about it. So what we're going to do is we're going to have recordings of like journal entries of everybody saying, hey, this is who I am, this is what I'm doing. We're going to get like a month of control, like, hey, just do a month like you normally would to establish a baseline. And then we're going to make it, excuse me. And then we're going to make it a collaboration where we work together to figure out where our flaws are and help each other, lift each other up. And then the end goal will hopefully be a nice polished piece of YouTube content after a few months, when we've had some people make it to 11, where we can, help other people get to that same rank.
Sure. So
or get to the level.
You're trying to establish some basic ideas that'll help anybody make the climb a little bit easier than what they're probably seeing right now. Keith is obviously far more accomplished than either of us as far as how high he climbs and how often he's been there. I have similar experiences to what you've gone through. The getting to Diamond 5 typically is just a matter of time. It isn't something that I really think anybody can't do if they put in the effort. But sometimes 5 to Legend can be difficult. I think at one point I remember talking with some of the bigger players, and they basically gave me the idea that it's like a pendulum, and you can't get frustrated and you can't get to where you're really tilting on it. That sometimes you get to 3, you get to 2, you get within a couple of wins of Legend, and sometimes it swings back. You just have to ride it out, and eventually it will, especially once you get the stars that you need to climb a little bit more efficiently, it does sort of move back to where you can get there routinely. But Keith obviously knows far better than we do.
Yeah,
and there's a lot. Go ahead, Keith.
Now, JustAGuy, I've helped coach people before, I'm gonna tell you, I don't think everybody is capable of legend. I'm just gonna put it out there. Um, and for their own.
Okay, I'm going to be more optimistic about the potential. I understand. I haven't had to try and carry people probably like you have, but I would hope that if I can do it, somebody who's nearing 90 years of age, that I actually don't represent the elite. I think most people, let's say most.
I'll take most. I do actually believe that most people can do it, and it's really just about time, effort, motivation, whatever it is that's motivating you. It comes down to some very, well, I say simple and basic fundamentals, but I take for granted my game mechanics and knowledge, that not everybody's gonna have. So,
where do you find when you're coaching some of these people, like a me or like a Tito, where you're trying to work and identify sort of what the weaknesses are? What's the most common thing?
Yeah.
Is it the decks they're playing? Is it the skill level? Is it they don't understand the meta well enough where they don't see what they actually should be playing against as often? What do you find?
Yeah, I think I'm going to trigger some people. They don't understand tempo. They like cards in their hand. They don't like cards on the board. I like cards on the board. I like killing my opponents dead. They don't. And then they lose the game, and they wonder why. They're too reactive, to put it simply. A lot of people that are struggling when I'm helping them, their plays and their thought process is too about how can I react to my opponent, not how can I put my opponent into a bad spot where they need to react to me. I'd say that's probably the biggest one.
So they're just sort of afraid, more just insecure about how they're playing and what they're playing against them.
Yeah, I think definitely a lot of it is game knowledge, right? They don't know what they're playing around sometimes. They don't understand, like, I can see this person kept this card. They're playing this deck. Most likely it's this card. You keep these cards in this matchup. It's turn 5. I'm going against Control Warrior. Play around Brawl. Simple things like that, where I've just picked up from playing the game over and over and over again and gaining that knowledge. Not everybody has that. So that's definitely another thing as well.
And we've gone off on a little bit of a tangent here, so let's course correct a little bit on Great Talks. And but we also have a fight night set up. We probably mid-March. Not ready to announce the competitors yet, but I'm very excited about this one. And so all the stuff is coming together right now. So I think it's going to be a very exciting next couple months. But anyway, we're going to dive into our interview with Keith, so you get to know a little bit more about him. JustAGuy, why don't you go ahead and take the lead on this?
Sure. We sort of touched on some of it already. Obviously, you're very Hearthstone-centric. How did you get into gaming? Where did you actually start from way back when?
Yeah, I mean, depending on how far you want me to go back, I've always kind of...
I go back to rock, paper, scissors. So you can start anywhere you want from there.
Yeah, I mean...
He was there where they invented rock, actually.
I did work on the team.
It kind of, started back with the N64. A lot of, Pokemon Stadium, Smash Brothers, stuff like that. Game Boy Advance, Pokemon. Eventually, I got a little bit older. I got into card games. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is the big one that I was really into, hence BanditKeith from my gamer tag. Got into Magic, The Gathering, and then, I seldomly played console games. I got more into kind of strategy-type games. But then World of Warcraft took over my life when I turned 14. Played a lot of World of Warcraft, tried to become competitive in Arena. I got to, decent rank. And I watched a lot of streams on Twitch, one of them being kind of the content creator that really motivated me to stream, which was Wreckful, and he started playing a game called Hearthstone. And I was watching him play this game, and I thought to myself, this looks like a lot of fun. And so I started playing probably at the end of Naxxramas, and I I got my first legend in Goblin versus Gnomes with Mech Mage, BanditKeith, by the way. And yeah, you could say the rest is history.
That's actually pretty cool. I assume that if you came from Yu-Gi-Oh and Magic, that you have several hundred large bins of cards laying around somewhere that are just taking up space like I do.
I have a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
We just moved a couple months ago, so finding all of the stuff that piled up over the years was really a shock. But so you ended up sort of gravitating towards Hearthstone and becoming a streamer. What do you find in the time you've been doing this is the sort of the best thing about what you've been doing? What's the worst thing about it?
Yeah, absolutely. The best part of streaming for me is it's just like a creative outlet. I just hop on there. I probably should plan my streams out more, but I don't. I hop on, I turn on the stream, and I'm myself. I play the game, whether, I'm going to be really tilted or not. If I'm going to have a great time, it all unfolds on stream, real time, real reactions, no planned, just it is what it is. I think that's one of the best parts in chat interaction, the community aspect of like streaming and Twitch. The worst part, I think, is just having to do it. Like, it becomes a chore. It's monotonous. Sometimes you need to really step back and take a break from something like that, which I did recently. I had to take a couple of weeks off just because, just with real life stuff and Hearthstone, I wasn't really exactly liking the meta. It kind of felt like my content was stagnating. Just needed to take a step back for a couple weeks, and I think it's really refreshed me to kind of go hard and, even come on to, this is the first podcast that I've ever been on. Doing something like this is pretty cool.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's actually, hearing you say it, it's something that, from the outside looking in, I think a lot of people look at people who stream and think that, that looks like a lot of fun. And they think that, obviously it takes some skill and it takes being entertaining while you're playing the game. And it's not something everybody can do. But I don't think people who don't do it understand just how sort of hard it can be. Because I see an awful lot of people talk about how burned out they get and how stressful it is and how much of a grind and how it becomes a job sometimes. That you're not playing a game. It's not something that a lot of people just think is, anybody can do it. That it actually can be something that really you see people struggling with, trying to find quality of life, trying to find, their mental health and make sure that the game itself doesn't become worse than the jobs that they might have had in the past.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting balance, and I was one of those people that thought anybody could do it until, I started kind of doing it as a hobby, and then realizing, like, oh, this is kind of, like, it's a lot. Like, I have a girlfriend of, it's going to be 13 years this year, and I was streaming, like, so much, it just felt like I never saw her between my real life job, her real life job, coming home, trying to set a set stream for, a schedule. Felt like I was never seeing her, and it was like, I wasn't really okay with that. So I needed to kind of step back a little bit, and I still wanted to do content creation and streaming and all that stuff, but I also have other priorities. So I'll have to kind of, balancing that all is kind of a interesting thing to do.
Now, do you do any other content? Do you make any YouTubes or TikToks or TalkTiks or whatever?
I did YouTube for a little bit, and then I don't know. I'm kind of lazy in a way that I don't. The thing is, like, I don't want to plan the content, so I started doing like recaps of my stream, and then I found them to be boring because I would want to do something a little bit more involved and in depth, like maybe doing, high legend gameplay or reviewing this deck or, something like that. But that's a lot of effort, and I don't have that much time to kind of commit with all my other kind of things that I'm juggling. So
life gets in the way, doesn't it? It's really irritating.
Yeah. So, I mean, the thing is too, I have some time, but I really prioritize myself, and I don't apologize for that. So I put myself first. I do what's good for me, and so I just don't feel like it's worth my time to put that effort out there in those avenues yet. Maybe in the future if things change.
Good for you.
Yeah, I found it with the content that I've been creating, especially a lot of it. It's like I don't have time for that either. My window for content creation is usually between 9 and 12, and that's it. Like I can talk about things during the day, but it's family time after work. I can't stay up past 12 usually past 12 because no matter how late I stay up, the dogs are up, the kids are up, they got to get to school. So there's no time for that. So I have found that I've had to collaborate with folks, and that's been a joyful process. I work with JustAGuy on a few different projects. I work with Dragon Rider on a few things, and finding a balance between that really, I think, helps. But that's not for everybody. Some people want control of everything. Some people don't have the people to collaborate with. So, yeah, and it really seems like especially after the Death Knight's released, the gameplay videos aren't as interesting anymore. Like we've had people come into the space like Raren and Regis, and they kind of do some different content that really is more interesting. People like to talk about the cards more than like to watch the cards played. So that's kind of an interesting thing. But
do you want to know a funny thing about me?
Sure.
I don't like to look at the cards before they're released. I just literally wait until they're released and then I play the game. So this is kind of, I on stream I did one set review which I failed miserably at, and this is my second shot at it. But I just don't. I just let it happen.
You don't set your alarm for the card reveals. You don't go through advanced analytics and try and do all the theory crafting before the set comes out. You just sort of wait till it shows up and then have some fun playing with what's in front of you.
Yeah, it's what works for me. I couldn't care less about trying to figure out what's going to theoretically be good. I want to actually get that experience, that hands-on. I'm more of that hands-on, tinker with the deck, play some games, see what feels good type of person than the theory crafting person. So for me, it just doesn't make sense to look at the cards and dream about what I think is going to work. I just log in, I see what I think looks interesting, build that deck, and then go from there.
Some people have built their empire on being wrong about cards, like Trump SC.
True.
You watch anybody when you have time? Do you have time to watch anybody else stream?
So that's the thing. I'm addicted to Twitch, guys. I don't know if you know this, but yeah, I'm addicted to Twitch. So there's a lot of different content that I consume. Largely it kind of goes between Hearthstone and World of Warcraft. Even though I refuse to play World of Warcraft anymore, I still consume the streamers that I used to watch. I find them very entertaining, and I still find watching Arena entertaining. But yeah, there's a whole laundry list of different streamers on Twitch that I definitely watch.
He gets so deep into Twitch, he's even found my channel.
That's deep, dude. That's down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, I don't know
Worth
how.
exploring, though.
I think it was a really dark day. I don't know.
I think you came in on a raid. All right, so what's something you think people would be surprised to know about you? It doesn't have to be personal. It could be silly or whatever. You've already given us one, but you got anything else?
Wow. Now I feel like I'm on the spot. No, I can't think of
favorite food, favorite thing to do that isn't computer related.
Yeah, about that. I mean, I have 5 cats. I guess that's pretty interesting.
Okay, there you go.
That would be surprising.
5 cats and a girlfriend.
Yeah. Do you think she has anything to do with me having 5 cats?
I think she has everything to do with it.
I'm gonna guess that's part of it.
It's a little bit a part of it. So when we got together, we wanted a cat. So we adopted a cat. She started working at an animal shelter. We adopted another cat. And then she brought home 3 little baby cats for us to foster. And turns out that fostering turns into adoption. So now there's 5.
Well, the trick is, I've done this too. We fostered 11 cats once at the same time. We only kept 2. You got to get enough so you can pick the ones you like, and then you. No, I'm just kidding. But
kids are the same way. Kids are the same way. You
fair
get
enough.
enough of them, you keep the ones you like. The others, not serious.
No, you
I
have
make that joke about discovering kids with my cousin. Yeah, no, we won't revisit that.
No, that was good. But actually, what you made mistakes, Steve. You don't keep the ones you like. You keep the ones that are the most useful.
Well, yeah. You know what? Live and learn. Do it over again. If I get a chance, I'll see how it turns out next time.
All right, Keith. So one last question: are there any other classes? Are there any particular classes you find yourself gravitating towards?
So mostly, I would say it's a play style for me. I tend to be drawn to aggressive decks. I like my tempo. Like I said, I really like playing my cards and killing my opponents. And then, if there's not a good tempo deck that I can play, then I am drawn to the OTKs. I do absolutely hate and despise control. I've been pretty happy that Hearthstone has kind of moved away from that typical control style gameplay, because for me, I just find it very boring. Like, if you're gonna play Blood DK and your win condition is to heal above what I can do to you, like, I just think that's so boring, and I'd rather play a different game, to be honest. So
I know how you feel. It's actually one of the weird things that when you play Marvel Snap, which you've gotten into that at all, or it's not really, in my opinion, a direct competitor for Hearthstone. It's a completely different feel to the game. But for the love of God, you get used to games taking 3 minutes. And then you come back to Hearthstone and mix it in, and all of a sudden you're 35 minutes into a game, and you're like, well, what in the name of God am I doing with my time? It's just taking so long. And then you lose after 35 minutes, and you feel like you just absolutely wasted so much of the day.
Yeah, so this is kind of random and off topic, but the Hearthstone World Championship between Dead Draw and Bunny Hopper, that Priest Mirror game, I literally fell asleep. I'm not, I fell asleep. They're 2 of the highest level players in the world, and I just couldn't watch it. It was unwatchable for me. I fell asleep, I woke up, the game was still going.
And they were doing some interesting stuff in that game too.
Were they? I don't think so.
Holding certain things and the way they're.
What you mean? The way that they were generating things and then generating more things, and then they generated some more things so that they could generate some more things. Generated, by the way.
Fair enough. Not a big fan of generation. I understand. I actually thought you were more of a rogue player anyway, but that's because, not knowing anything about Yu-Gi-Oh, I thought BanditKeith was a nod to rogue.
Rogue does have a nice playstyle for me just because of how you can tempo. There's a lot of mana cheat in Rogue right now. Miracle Rogue is definitely something that I find to be appealing. I just played too much of it, so I'm off of that deck right now just because I just got sick of it. I needed something new. So I've just been memeing around in Dumpster Legend right now. Maybe I'll climb my way back up to 11x if I feel like it. I'll just play like Unholy DK or something.
Yeah, I watched.
We had just done a video interview of someone who only plays Demon Hunter, and at that point it was like sort of questions about how do you feel when you never play anything else, and does it get stale? And it sort of worked for him. It definitely seems like an unusual way to go about it if you like a little bit of a break from what you've been doing.
Yeah, that was an interview with Draco Cat.
Oh, Draco Cat. I love Draco Cat. He's such a wonderful man. For no reason at all, he just kind of reached out to me, just told me that he likes my content, just gave me a bunch of great advice for my content and Twitter. So just honestly, I have the greatest respect for Draco Cat. He's such an awesome dude.
A small world, isn't it?
Especially in Hearthstone.
It's interesting because I know of you, JustAGuy, just because like your memes, like just like harassing your daughter, just like. But I've never met you before, and I know of Tito. Nope. I never met you before. This is the first time that I've ever been in a call with you guys, so it's kind of interesting.
We can't get anybody to come on and talk to us who has met us before. So it's the only way it works.
That's a fair point. I also, so in the community, in the Hearthstone community, I do know like a lot of different players. I've been in the scene for a long time. I've tried to be competitive before, so I do know, quite a lot of those people. Even back to like when, years and years ago, before Frozen was Frozen, he was facing me in an open cup. You know what I'm saying? Before Gallon was a game dev, we were competing to see who was going to be the best on, there was like, I can't remember what website it was, like before Battlefy or whatever, there was, when you could qualify with online points, we were open cup grinders, and Gallon was like my nemesis,
Yep, he and he almost made it all the way. Just had to get through Dog in Las Vegas.
Oh.
He would have been a world champ too, or
Shout
at least
out to
a
Killing All
Master
Day,
Tour
by
champ.
the way. Shout out to Killing All Day. It's always the year of Killing All Day.
Yep. But anyway, I think it's time to start talking about the cards. I know this isn't your forte, as you were saying, but boy, did I invite you on the wrong show? But why not? Let's talk about them.
No, it's fine. I don't mind. Like it's not a bad thing. My girlfriend says I lack imagination. It's hard for me to imagine a scenario where a card would be good or bad without being able to play with those cards. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and also most of the time the flaw that comes in with reviewing cards in a lot of places is you look at them mostly exclusively fitting into the current archetypes. Like, hey, if we add this to this deck or add this to this deck, does it make it better? Does it make it worse? When it kind of takes some of the imagination out of it, where like, well, what could you do with this? How would this, like, Funky's really good. Funky Monkey's really good at saying like, hey, he takes like today he had a stream. He's building new decks from scratch and saying, how are we going to do this? How are we going to make that? And it's hard to evaluate where they fit in, even if they look good or if they don't look good, until you get them in with the other cards and do some innovation. So it's understandable. Anyway, let's start looking at the Death Knight cards first. They have, I think, some of the more interesting ones. They have their location now, which is great. Would have been kind of weird to go. I thought they were going to get a Colossal, as well as a location. I was kind of expecting a hero too, but I guess they didn't want to go that far. Maybe we'll get one next year. But the first thing we have is the Construction Quarter, which is a location. It's a 3 durability. Destroy a friendly minion to summon a 4/5 undead with Rush. They have a spell that does this too, and it's a pretty good spell, so I don't see why this wouldn't still be good. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if this is one of the early nerfs all the way down to 2 durability pretty quickly. What are you guys' thoughts on it?
You're thinking which one's going to be nerfed?
The Construction Quarter. I think it's going to lose a durability, kind of like the Mage one did.
I see.
Early.
I think that actually is a pretty good card. I definitely think giving them a location is a nice thing, since they want to sort of keep that going. I do think it's a decent card. It's got some good value. I think their other cards aren't particularly good, but I do think Construct Quarter is a good card.
How about yourself, Keith?
Yeah, I'm probably not going to surprise anybody by saying that this is a very good card. You play it on turn 3, you might make a 4/5 on turn 3, but more likely you'll probably make it on turn 4, even if you just have to hit your button, hit him in the face, and then make a 4/5 rush to trade into something. You're going to get some good value out of it. Just seems like a solid card. 3 durability. Yeah, I think this thing is going to be an auto include.
Now the next card, they have a Rimscale Siren. It's a 3 mana 2/3 battle cry. If you've cast 3 spells while holding this, freeze 3 random enemy minions. Now this also is a 1 frost rune. seems solid. I don't know if it's. I mean, it should slot into a Frost deck pretty easily. Possibly some sort of maybe like Blood Frost combo, or actually maybe Unholy Frost combo to stop what they're doing and continue on yours. Except, how many spells do you actually run in those? So I'm kind of on the fence about this card. I think it has some potential.
I don't see this getting much play.
Yeah, I think this thing is unplayable.
I don't see it getting played. You could maybe fit it into a rainbow DK deck. I think it's interesting when you look at the other card that they got, the Colossal, just because it does synergize a bit with it, but I don't see this card getting much.
Here's the thing. What's that 3 mana Hunter one where if you cast 3 spells, it does 5 damage, right? I feel like it's likened to that. First of all, you have to have this card in your hand, and then you have to have 3 spells. You're not going to keep this card. Like, I just don't understand in what world this would be playable.
You got to sit on it for a while. Yeah, I don't think it's going to value to be able to play it.
I mean, it's a defensive card if you're playing a slower deck and you're looking to. If you're playing a spell-based slower deck,
but we've established this. I don't care about those decks, so they don't exist.
Fair.
So as long as Keith isn't interested in playing it, it's a bad card. There, you have it. Move on.
There you go.
You got this.
So,
now you're understanding.
So Frost Queen Sindragosa is their Colossal. +2 Colossal.
We all love Colossals. So you're going to give it like a bonus star because it's a Colossal, but unfortunately, it's not a good Colossal.
Is JustAGuy my father? I feel like we're...
Does your dad talk Hearthstone cards with you?
No, but
oh.
I just feel like we're on the same wavelength here.
I have to see. Here's the thing, though. Before I say I don't think this is a good card, I have to check and see if either of my kids had anything to do with creating it, because that can cause
no
issues.
Bias at all.
And thankfully, for this set, I don't think they had. I think Sage did some. I don't think Cora
did.
Did
Cora
so much,
make this one? It's trash. No.
Hey, easy. No, the funniest one. Sorry, segue. What was my pointing out a card to my son and saying, "Yeah, this card just killed me in a match I just had." He goes, "You know what? When I was creating that card, I was thinking, I hope this kills Dad someday."
Peak Hearthstone content.
So there are some interesting aspects to this card, though. This you can use it, for us to clear. You can clear a board with it, or clear some big threats. It's got 2 different color runes, which is something that we haven't seen before. It's 1 Frost, 1 Blood. So there's it kind of signifies that they're not unwilling to do that going forward. So
that honestly was something if they wanted to make the card a little more playable, they shouldn't have.
Yeah, that's exactly, like, the restriction is, I think, what makes it so bad. If you're playing Frost, you want 3 Frost because that 7 mana Frost card is literally the nuts. So if this had no runes and it was a Colossal, it might be playable. With the rune restriction, I feel like that's what makes it kind of...
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they take a second look at this card after it releases and they get all their statistics on how much cards are being played. I think they probably revisit this one down.
If they wanted to be playable, just take away the rune restrictions, I think, and then then they'll put it in every deck.
No, you're both wrong. It is a playable card. It's going to be a fantastic rogue card.
Okay, Trump.
So let's move on to Death Knight. Excuse me, Demon Hunter. I always get them mixed up when I talk about them.
You and everybody else.
The first is Calamity's Grasp. It's a 1 mana, 1/2 durability weapon, Death Rattle. Add a random outcast card to your hand. What do we think about this?
It's not great. I think that it'll be more playable when the current 1 mana Demon Hunter weapon rotates out with the next set. And I think they're going to need a 1 mana weapon. So I think it'll see play, but I think it'll see play once there aren't many other options.
So this card excites me, but just because for selfish reasons. I want Outcast Demon Hunter to be a thing because it can be a tempo deck, and it kind of, the 1/2 1 mana kind of reminds me of, the Whirling Sidekick old rogue card. And I want it to be good. I don't think it's going to be good at release, but hopefully Outcast gets some more support and this card becomes good. So that's kind of my analysis.
I think they cards often get created where they come up with a card and they think, hey, I think this might be a good card. And then I think they also come up with cards that are like, hey, I think this card works because we need it to support these other cards. And I do think they often design cards in sort of a big picture. And sometimes you don't get all the cards in the current expansion or even in the mini set that are still planned out. So I think sometimes you have to sort of give them a chance to hit the ground and then see what happens with the next expansion that might actually sort of round out some of these other cards.
We're going to revisit that topic in just a few cards. But the other thing to remember about this card, though, is when it does have the death rattle, the Outcast card will be on the right hand of your hand, or the right side of your hand, so it will be immediately outcastable, as it were.
Yes, the problem is it's random.
Yeah, they need to delete that 4-mana minion Outcast. They need to delete it so that way Outcast DH can be good.
I'll make a note for them. Outcast Demon Hunter is a go. Let's round it out a little bit quicker.
Yes, please. Thank you.
So the next card is Shambling Chow. It's a 1-mana 2/3 rush death rattle, deal 4 damage to your hero. This is very reminiscent of cards from the classic set. Not classic set, the first Nax with Zombie Chow.
Yeah, I was going to say, from classic, there was nothing this powerful. I don't know what you're talking about.
No, I'm sorry. I meant the first Nax, yeah. So this seems like a pretty good card.
I think it has possibility. I think when Aggro Demon Hunter is being played, everybody's going to put it in their deck. I don't know that I see an awful lot of Aggro Demon Hunter right now.
Here's the thing. Any BanditKeith deck is running that card 2 of. I'm just saying. That card.
You're going to take it. Yes, BanditKeith 100% would take it to the face to be able to punch somebody back. So yeah, I can see that fitting the place.
Draco's going to play a lot of this too.
The stat line of 2/3, the downside of taking 4, I don't care. You know what I'm saying? This thing is great.
Yeah, if you're worried about 4 damage in an aggressive deck like this, you're probably
it's just a better flame imp.
You're going to want to.
It's just a better flame imp. It's got the better stats with the 3 health. It has rush, and it deals.
It's a decent card.
It deals 1 more damage to yourself. It's a better flame imp.
All right, so Bellscale Evoker, a 6-mana 5/7 battle cry. If you've cast 3 spells while holding this, we've seen this again. Summon a different demon from your deck. Is this enough to help make Big Demon Hunter a thing?
Not yet. Not yet. The one thing with this that actually is pretty interesting is it lists summoning a different demon. So at least, if you tech 2 of these into your deck, which obviously you would to try and play a big demon hunter, you're not going to pull the other one out, which would not be what you'd want. So being able to actually know that you could hopefully pull out something that you were targeting is a little bit better. But again, part of this is sort of the conversation about how many sort of big demon hunter decks are you going to see with the cards that are currently available.
I love playing Big Demon Hunter. I love the 5-mana pull out your the 5-mana rune, pull out a big demon, faceless manipulator, and it's not good, but it's hella fun.
It's satisfying. It's not good, but it's satisfying.
Relics are all going to rotate out when now? Oh, wait, it's going to be a while. So
it's going to be a while.
Yeah. So I think this card is trash. It's still got you still got to cast 3 spells. Like, you got to have this card in your hand. It's so slow. There's not enough mana cheat for big demon hunter. Like, yeah, it's just gonna be unplayable, unfortunately.
And you have to play it because it's battle cry.
Yeah,
so. I'm trying to be more polite about the cards because it seems Tito's taking it more personally than I do.
Oh no, I'm not taking anything personally. I don't think it's a good card. I just I want Big Demon Hunter to be a thing. And it's not. So let's go into the Druid cards. We have Rake, which is a 1-mana spell. Give your hero +2 attack this turn. Deal damage equal to your hero's attack to a minion. Seems pretty good if you're playing that kind of a aggro deck, maybe like aggro.
This is a good card. It costs 1. It's a better savagery. You could clear two minions with 1 mana, even if you have to take come to your face. But that's okay because we know that Keith doesn't care about that.
Right.
Only if it makes me explode. That's the only time I care.
Understandable. No, I think this is a decent card.
Yeah, I think so too.
It seems fine.
Now-
I just don't. What is it? What is it going to be played in? Like, I guess just ramp and control, just for early, to stop aggro. I guess.
I would think you'd play this in an aggro deck where you want to do more damage and maybe have to clear something out of your way.
Yeah, in an aggro deck, you want to play minions, though. You know.
Sure.
I don't know.
It's definitely with a board.
It's cheap enough
early,
where it will probably see
Yeah.
some play. I'm not sold on the card. It seems fine.
I would be more sold on the card if it was a nature spell. However, this has no spell tag. Because with nature spell, there is some synergies that can be used. But yeah, not seeing it here. So now to one of the more controversial cards of the set, Death Beetle. 6 mana, 6/6. A little devilish. Taunt. Mana Thirst 11. Gain +4/+4 in charge. So is this confirmation that the Guff effect is moving on to next year somehow?
I think it's an indication that either somebody forgot Guff was rotating out, or maybe they have something planned. I can't say.
Yeah, no,
The card itself, though, as constituted, if you forget about how long you're going to be able to use it, it's what's your best case? You're going to sit on this thing for a very, very long time on a slow deck, and you're going to be able to play out a 10/10 with charge.
You realize Druid ramps, right? Like a long time for Druid is turn 5. You're at 11
but
mana.
But I also realize there's a lot of Druid that'll kill you long before this card hits the
Druid
field.
ramps, and then it does its powerful thing, which is OTK you with the combo. That's the only thing that Druid can win with. So why would you play this card when it doesn't help you win?
And again, we don't. That's true for right now. I'm not sure which cards are staying and leaving for the add rotation. So it'll be interesting. This will probably be something that if they keep some sort of +10, +11 mana for Druid past this, then maybe this slots into something in the 4-set meta.
I mean, if you want, I can go over what's going to be in the new core set if that makes it easier to evaluate.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
what do you got?
We don't have time right now. Let's just we'll go through this.
I think he was joking.
All right.
I mean, this card.
No,
could
but
be
I was
okay
calling
with,
him
like,
on it.
See, what I'm thinking is, like, how do I mana cheat this card out? And then I think Celestial Alignment, and then I think, how the heck am I going to get to Mana Thirst 11 with a Celestial Alignment? So I'm racking my brain, but this card just seems to not make any sense. Maybe in the future we'll get some more insight about what they were thinking and what archetype maybe this could fit into. But
and I'm honestly okay with them printing Druid cards that aren't good. Anyway, the next card is a 6 mana spell, Life from Death. Draw 3 cards, infuse 6. This card costs 1.
It is a decent card. I think a lot of people are sort of losing their minds over the notion that you're going to get a draw 3 for 1 mana. But I don't think Druid struggles with card draw. So
don't they have Nourish for that?
No. Yeah. So I don't know that. I don't think it's a bad card. I think it's a decent card. I don't know that it's a needed card right now.
No, this is not a card for ramp. This is a card for aggro. Again, like this is reload for aggro because it's infuse 6 and you want to get that 1 mana, give me 3 more cards, get me more minions on the board. This is an aggro card.
Aggro would like you to be dead by turn 6.
No, it's not turn 6.
I did the math. That
it's
sounds
infuse
correct.
6.
That sounds correct.
It's not turn 6. You can possibly cast this on turn 2 or 3 after if they clear your board.
It's infuse.
It's infuse 6.
Okay, it depends. I understand.
So, but early on, before we started working in composting back into the Aggro Druid was really strong until they cleared you once, and then you were kind of like, boned. And eventually the deck got refined to have a little more draw, a little more reload.
I think that was the keyword they were actually contemplating using was boned.
Yeah. I mean, it does fit the theme.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting card. Yeah, I think it could definitely be slotted into aggro. There's no shot like that this is going into a ramp druid, right? I mean, like I guess they could use scales and then draw 3 cards. I don't know. Like it seems interesting. It just you have to get into the point of like what are you cutting for this, you know? But then again, I'm not actually familiar with what's rotating because I just let things happen to me. But you know, it might be necessary when the other cards rotate out that you might need this to slot in. So
let me ask you, Keith, back in the Yu-Gi-Oh days, did you like to do where you just sort of like open up packs, create a deck, and play instead of bringing stuff that you prepared?
So I was a bit more casual. I was really just I like to play big minions. I like to hit you in the face for a lot of life points. And then I had some tricks up my sleeve with, magic and trap cards where it was like, haha, you hit yourself in the face and now you lose. Haha, I destroyed your whole,
Magic cylinder.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
magic
sure.
cylinder, mirror force. I played OG, Yu-Gi-Oh! So there was a combo where you did bring a destruction barrel behind the door, and like I would make a summon skull. I'd buff it up to 4,000 attack. I would sacrifice it, and then I'd redirect the damage to you, and that does 8,000 as OTK. So
nice. Sorry, Tito. I pulled this off the rails pretty bad.
Oh, no worries. We'll get right back on real soon.
I love the Nurse Reficule deck with gift card. I would make my living on that.
I realized in this conversation that Keith would hate playing against me in Magic back in my day because I used to like stasis decks. So
guess what Magic decks I played?
You played Red Make Dead.
I played Red Deck Wins. I played Boros Burn.
Yep. And I remember, so I used to play in the alpha days where people would like fork their lightning bolts and kill you on like turn 3. And you're like, I haven't even drawn a second land yet. Anyway, moving on to the Hunter cards, we have a 1-mana 1/1 Trinket Tracker, Battle Cry, draw a 1-cost spell. A lot of people have said this fits into Quest Hunter, but I don't know if it does because I'd rather have the 1-cost spell than have to draw a 1-cost spell. What do you guys think?
I think it's okay.
It thins your deck.
I think it's a really great card. I don't think it's a terrible card. I think it may find some play. I think obviously a lot of it is going to be, what 1-cost spells are going to be available to draw. Right now, you have very little to basically pull from, but that doesn't mean that's all you're going to get. Tracking is available now, which is a good card. It's not a bad thing to pull. But I think, you'll have to see sort of what else is available down the road.
Yeah, it seems like a fair card. 1-mana 1/1. Draw yourself a tracking, at least for now. You could probably... I've actually been playing Quest Hunter recently. The card that deck actually destroys Unholy DK, which is a lot of dumpster meta. I would definitely try this in that deck, see how it works out, because you do need your 1-mana spells. So, I'd try it out.
Fair enough. Now, the next card we have is a secret called Zombies. After your opponent's player minion, summon 4 1/1 zombies to attack it. Very reminiscent of the Druid card, Bees, obviously.
Which is confusing
to me. Seems okay.
Like, why are you calling back a Druid card with a Hunter? I don't know. I'm confused.
Because sometimes they work late at night and don't. This is a decent card. This is a decent card. Adding to the secret pool is always sort of fun. This is basically a better snipe.
And the bees, as far as I understand it, are beasts and undead.
Yes.
So I know there's some people that worry about that.
So you
potentially polluting your pool.
They play out a 2-health minion. You end up with a couple of zombies on the field for your next turn.
So here's an alternative way of thinking about it. Doesn't this card just make your Tavish worse? Isn't playing this card on turn 2 really sad for you? I don't know. I don't like secrets. I just feel like there's not enough support For something like for you just to run 2 mana secrets in your deck just seems bad. I mean, Bunker, can reduce the card, but Bunker doesn't see any play now. It's not going to see any play later, I don't think. Secrets need a lot more support to be good in the meta, in my opinion. I think the card is fine. Like, I like the idea of it. I just don't think that it's going to be playable in, like, any deck.
Well, 2 things. One, the upgraded secret will probably be for 2/2s, I would think. And 2, you gave me a list that had Bunker in it, so don't tell me it's not played.
Yeah. I'm playing really bad decks right now. So
It's more fun sometimes.
I'm baiting everybody into thinking, that decks are good. Like, I was trying to get a really, get to a decent rank and then post some Twitter bait, but it didn't work. Instead, I just dumpstered.
There you go. So, Faithful Companion is another hunter spell. Both these spells are classless. Not classless, I'm sorry. Spell schoolless. Faithful Companions is a 7 mana. Discover a beast from your deck and summon it. Mana thirst 10. Also summon a copy of it. This seems like a fun card. I don't think it's a good card.
I think more fun than great. I think it could be okay. I think it could be playable. I think the dream here is that you're somehow going to pull out 2 King Crushes and punish your opponent. I don't know how likely that is, and how long it's going to take you to get there, but yeah, I think it might be fun. I don't think it's going to see a lot.
Yeah, I see Hattrick playing this card in double King Crushing somebody in top 200 Legend for sure. Does that mean it's playable? No. That means it's absolutely not playable.
I think
Sunken Saber might be a better alternative currently.
My first thought on seeing this card was, what's the spell that gives a minion +3/+3 and drops another one in your deck? Can't think of it.
If you're looking for card names from me,
you're not gonna.
But
you're not gonna get them from me either.
That's fair.
I would call this thing like 7 mana King Crush card.
What gives your card a +3/+3 and puts another one in your deck? Dire Frenzy.
Dire Frenzy.
I found it.
Nice. Yeah, I think that would be. I mean, it could be some fun shenanigans there, but maybe you can use this to summon 2 more. God, I can't think of it. Boars to finish your Hunter Boar quest. But yeah, no, it's going to be a fun card. But I don't see it being a broken card or really seeing any real play. On to the next Shaman. One of the other controversial cards, Blazing Transmutation. Choose a minion. Discover one that costs 1 more to transfer it into. So now we have Evolve with Discover mixed in, which makes the effect more consistent, especially when you're dealing with something like the Knolls, and more powerful. I think this is a very good card.
So I'm gonna sound like an idiot. Can somebody explain this card to me? I've literally read this card multiple times. I don't understand what it does.
Okay, play your Knoll.
This is actually a card I created a year or so ago. A really bad, confusing version of it. But I happen to love the Discover mechanic because it's sort of like you. It's like you don't want to look at all the cards before they get released and overanalyze. You like to sort of just play with it. I love decks that you just sort of sit in front of and you get new cards and you figure out what to do with them while you're playing. So Discover is a lot of fun, and I suggested doing, sort of that Evolve mechanic, but instead of it being random, that you actually get to discover it. I think mine was probably a 3 or 4 mana card that was completely terrible stats, but this card, you play it on something, you will discover 3 cards, 1 level higher than the minion you select. So you have a lot more control over what you're going to be able to pull from the Evolve.
So no more discovering a Knoll evolving a Knoll into a Knoll.
Oh, okay. So it will evolve into whatever you discover. You don't get that card into your hand; it goes onto the board.
Correct.
Right.
Okay, because that's what I was confused about. I was like, do you also get a copy in your hand? Is there?
Yeah. So here's what you're going to see with this set. I think you're gonna get your Gold Shire Knoll out, and you're going to play Blazing Transmutation. And you're going to see Thaddeus Monstrosity turn up 30% of the time. And you're going to look at that and you're going to think, oh, this has some serious possibilities. That's why this card is so potential.
Oh man, so you're telling me Jambray is going to finish rank 1?
I'm telling you, yeah, this is another, I think, early
it's so good because Evolve Shaman wasn't good at all to begin with, right? So giving them some tools that'll make it even more interesting.
Well, at least it's not egregious right now. It's not everywhere. It's a good solid deck.
You know what I heckin' love?
But yeah, this card is bad.
I heckin' love being evolved on.
It sounds like a personal thing. I'm not sure we should talk about.
Oh, sorry. I thought this was the forum for that.
No, that's Blizzlet. So we have Cold Storage, which is a 1-mana freeze a minion. Add a copy of it to your hand. This is a legendary effect from, I believe, Rasakhan's Rumble. Turned into a 1-mana card that you have 2 of. So this is what they call power creep. That card never saw play. Will this see play?
Some. It's wind chill. And then the question becomes, would you rather have a copy of a minion or draw a card? I don't think you can hate on a 1-cost spell that freezes a minion to begin with. I think there's a lot of utility here, even being able to freeze your own minion. You've got your null on the board. You'd like another one in hand. I think here's a pretty easy way to grab one. Then you can Blazing Transmutation, the one that you just froze, and have another one in hand to use next turn. So I think it's got some playability. I think most people are probably going to prefer the card draw.
What do you think there, Keith?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that this card is just good in whatever permutation of Evolve Shaman is going to be. I mean, you've already seen, like, people don't play the Wind Chill in Shaman decks, really. Like, it's 1 mana, freeze a minion, draw a card. People really aren't even, like, I don't know, people aren't playing it. So, I think, though, in Evolve Shaman, this seems pretty good. So,
what I see here is I play my Knoll, I attack with it, I freeze it, get a copy of it, evolve it.
Yep.
That is a distinct possibility.
That seems like the best case use for this card.
Absolutely, and it keeps your hand. You're not even losing a card. It's cycle in a way where you're generating another card, and then your Knoll is still the same cost. So, yeah. Next up, we have a 3-mana 2/3 Elemental Murloc Frostfin Chomper. Battlecry: if you played an elemental last turn, summon 3 1/1 Murlocs. This card is strange.
Trash.
Let's hope whoever designed the card isn't listening.
Yeah, well, they could throw. I mean, not every card is going to be a winner. You know what I'm saying? And
yep. How many elemental Murloc decks are you going to see? It's got an interesting effect. There aren't too many. I mean, you need to play an elemental the turn before for the Battlecry to even do anything. So the question is, how does it fit into decks that people might be playing?
Yeah, I'm sure there's something out there that'll be interesting and fun to do, but I don't think it'll be.
No, I think you're being too polite with that, Tito. I don't think there will be anything fun and interesting to do with this card. I think it's just you're gonna play a tribal based deck. They're very boring. They're very straightforward, and I'm not into it. And I don't think it's a good card.
Well, speaking of tribal, we have No Fins Impossible going into our Warlock cards. We have it's a 2-mana spell. Again, no spell school. A lot of these cards don't have a spell school attached to them, which I kind of find interesting. But give all friendly demons and Murlocs Death Rattle, summon 2/2 Implock. And the Implocks are demons that are Murlocs. This one I have a little more hope for, because this one I think gives you the potential to, you can play this on a board full of imps that you've just generated and have a little bit more stickiness, and still have the ability to have the demon tags on top of them. I don't think we really care about the fact that they're Murlocs, but I think it gives the ability to have a little bit, add stickiness to an aggro deck.
I think this is, you got to start by saying what a cool design for the card. It looks fun. The pun cards are always great. I think this is a very good card. I think it's a cheaper Soul of the Forest. The dual tribes is interesting. I don't know how much it's going to make a difference, but it definitely, I think, is going to see play. This is a pretty neat card.
What class is this for?
This is
Warlock.
for Warlock.
This is for Warlock. Okay.
So add some imp block longevity to your board.
And bigger imps when they respawn.
You don't sound sold on it.
Yeah, I like the fact that it costs 2 mana, but I don't. You're not playing this on turn 2. You know, you're playing this. You know, best case scenario, turn 4 or 5. I don't know.
I don't know. You play you summon 4 imps. What is it? 2 mana to summon 4 imps, and then you play this on top of that. So turn 4.
Yeah. I mean, it.
They clear your board. You now
You
have a
have to
bigger
think
board.
about the decks that you're facing, right? And just like unholy what's the new class? Death Knight?
Death Knight.
That
It just swarms the board faster. It's just the fastest that you can put poop minions out on the board, isn't it? Like, how are you going to keep up with that?
What's that new class?
Well, when they clear your minions, you get You get
but
twice the size of them in
Tito,
the back.
they've got the board. If they've got minions on the board, then they've got the board, and then it's hard for you to establish the board and then play this card. It's like, I don't know.
Oh, I think you do this in combination on the same turn.
Yeah.
Like you play your suspicious pack, whatever, summon a bunch of imps, and then you play this right on top.
Okay.
So that
and then
way
you
it
die,
gives
right?
a chance.
Okay. I don't know. It seems I don't know. It seems like a fun card, and that's what I'll leave it at. It seems fun.
Okay, we're going to be on for another hour if we debate about this.
Yeah, no. So Suspicious Peddler is a 2 mana 2/3 battle cry. Discover a 1-cost card. If your opponent guesses your choice, they get a copy.
We didn't announce what class we were moving on to.
No, we're still on Warlock.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. We only did the first card.
No, I'm paying attention.
Ignore me. Please continue.
So this is a worse peddler than the other one, which
Dark
was a
Peddler,
1
yeah.
mana 1/3. I don't get this card.
It's got more of a downside than the other one. The fact that you could actually give a copy to your opponent. I like the discover mechanic. I don't know that I'd play this card.
Yeah. I mean, they gave it an extra, health point, and then they gave it a big downside, and that kind of ruined the card for me. If it was a 2 mana 2/3 discover a 1 cost, I'm playing it every single time. With the downside, I mean, I'll try it out. I'm not sure how good it's going to be. The 1 mana pool doesn't seem like, is it for just Warlock that you're discovering? Is it any 1 mana?
I believe it's just Warlock.
Yeah, like the 1 mana Warlock cards aren't that great.
Suspicious Peddler only discovers a 1 mana.
And I mean, we do play the Suspicious Alchemist in Mage, but that's a 1/3 discover a spell.
Yeah, but it's just fodder
And
for your whatever.
Apparently, it's any 1-cost card, not limited to the.
Okay,
Warlock.
well there are some decent 1 cost.
But then it makes it more unpredictable.
Yes, it dilutes the potential more.
Yeah.
You're right.
So, next we have Plague Eruption, which
Okay.
is a 3 mana spell, again classless, schoolless. Excuse me. Deal 2 damage to all minions. If you discarded this game, deal 1 more.
Sounds like a wild card.
It does a little bit, doesn't it?
It could be good and wild. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know where you're playing.
Yeah, it doesn't seem.
I mean, it's an
playable.
anti-aggro tool, but I don't see it being a very good card.
Neat.
But we can tell Storm Rage that they got another discard card, and he can try to make it work. Moving on to the warrior cards, we have Training Session, which is discover a taunt minion. If you play it this turn, repeat this. So you're not doubling the minion you select. You get to pick again, and I would believe you can do this until you run out of mana. So I don't know if it's a good card. It's interesting. It's potentially fun. I don't even know what the taunt pool looks like. Yeah, I know you have a pirate. I don't know what you guys' thoughts on this card.
It's
more fun than probably a competitive card you're going to see play. I don't think there's a lot of taunt decks that you're running into too much right now.
Well, it would be. I think that you wouldn't. This would be the card that makes you want to make a taunt deck. Like this, if you were going to play a taunt deck, you're probably doing it with playing this card in mind, and then I don't know, bolstering behind it or something if that was still in the standard. I don't know what's in the core still. There's a lot of cards that were in the core that we haven't even thought about. So
I think it's an
interesting card. I think it definitely depends on sort of some additional cards that might need down the road for support.
You know,
any thoughts, Keith?
I like the fact that it cost 1 mana. That's it.
Now on to the next card. We have a 3-mana 4/3 Mech Pirate. Hook Fist 3000. If your hero attacks, gain 4 armor and draw a card. This seems like this is situational, but it could fit in a pirate deck.
It could. I like the Mech Pirate sort of motif is interesting. I'm not sure putting a big number at the end of everything is automatically going to make everything a mech, but I guess it doesn't in this case.
Hands down,
the
coolest.
the
coolest named card of the mini set, hands down.
After your hero attacks, gain 4 armor and draw a card. I think the drawing a card effect is pretty cool. I'm not sure the armor is going to make a big difference if you're playing this like in a pirate deck. I don't think it's a terrible card. I think it might see some play. I think people are going to experiment with it and see if it fits.
You're not going to hate generating it, especially if it's coming off the if people are finding a way to play Quest Warrior and you're drawing it off an Argonaut. I mean, there are worse cards to get. But I don't see it really being played that much.
I mean, it seems like it could be a Pirate Warrior card, which I don't think is a deck, but I like the name of the card, so.
And we Flesh Shaper, which is again a Blizzlet name. Especially it's an original format, which I believe it was Flesh Behemoth or something along those lines. 6 mana, 3/8. Undead, Taunt, Battle Cry. If you have 5 or more armor, summon a copy of this. If you are playing a Taunt Warrior, this card goes in there. I don't know how good it is otherwise, unless you're playing something super controlled.
It's an interesting looking card. I think it's very conditional, and I think that 6 cost is a real deterrent.
It's got but yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, no, the best case scenario that you do this is what, on turn 5 you're playing Control Warrior and you armor and shield shatter something and then hope they don't develop a board, and then you play this and make 2 3/8s and win the game, but you're probably winning that matchup anyway, so I don't really see a real reason to play this card in Control Warrior or any Warrior deck. Yeah.
I mean, it'll help you stabilize. If you can last that long against aggro, it'll help you stabilize. But, yeah, no.
You've already got other tools to stabilize against aggro. I don't think you need this. This isn't what Control Warrior needs, I don't think.
All right, moving on to Mage. We have Spectral Trainee, 3 mana, 1/4. After you cast a spell, deal 1 damage to all enemy minions. I'm not sold on this card. If it would have just said enemies, I would have been more happy with it. But it's
not.
Mage doesn't need this card. It's
no.
3 mana, 1/4 just seems like a waste of spending your mana.
Or stats, I'd rather play Flamewaker.
Well, Flamewaker's not in standard.
I can have it if I want
it. All right. Whirlweaver is a 3 mana, 4/3 battle cry. If you cast a spell last turn, discover an elemental, and it is an elemental Naga. I don't see. I mean, this is probably one for the rotation because I don't see a elemental. There's not a lot of good elementals in Mage right now.
No, there are.
Yeah, I think we've gone full. That's a no for me, dog mode. Yeah, that's
This. A lot of these cards, like I said, a lot of them are.
placeholders.
Yeah.
They're cards that sort of give them something. You're not seeing the long term sets that are coming, and I think that some of them can be sort of the start of what they're putting together, because when they do design cards, they often design cards for a set, not just individual cards, and then hope somehow they plug together like pieces of a puzzle. Luckily, I think this is one of those things that maybe down the road, look at a little bit closer.
This might be an April card, or even maybe a September.
To be
card.
a less critical, the art I think is actually really cool. It's very cool art.
Absolutely. And now we also have a 4-mana arcane spell, Tear Reality. Add 2 random spells from the past. They cost 2 less. So a lot of people are obviously, hey, Ice Block is back. And yes, there will be, some videos out there where people get Ice Block of this, but there are a lot of mage spells in the past. You're not going to see it that often. This is a fun card. There's a lot of good spells and a lot of crap spells in Mage, and they're random spells. So this will be a fun card in Casino Mage. It's not a good card.
Yeah, I think this is a card I will play around with a lot, just to sort of see what you get, because I love, like I mentioned, the Discover mechanic, and I hadn't, because you don't get that many cards that do it. I love randomness where you bring cards that aren't even in the current meta. So that's fun. But what are you going to get? There's an awful lot. People think about things like Ice Block, and they forget about an awful lot of really bad cards that won't do you anything.
Hey man, you can get you could get a free unstable portal. You could get an 8-mana box.
There's some good stuff out. Oh, everybody's going to want it. Except there's an awful lot of bad cards that are going to turn up, and you're going to think that obviously it's fixed somehow. So,
and you could also get an 8-mana cast up to 5 secrets from your deck.
I'm excited about the card. I don't think it's a particularly good card, just because I'm not sure of the exact what the probability of the outcomes of getting good cards are off of this card. If I knew those statistics, I could, more firmly say like, oh, this card's busted, X percentage of the time I'm going to get XYZ, but I've got no clue. It seems like a fun card, and I'm kind of just excited to meme around with it.
Well, if you want the math on the card, actually 100% of the time it's going to work 70% of the time. Okay, so Paladin, we have a 3-mana 5/5. Knight of the Dead, Battlecry, deal 5 damage to your hero. Mana Thirst 7, restore 5 health to your hero instead. I really like the design on this card. I like that it is a hyper aggro card, but also, could potentially help you survive if you're in a longer battle for some reason. I don't know if it's a good card. It's also undead, but I really like the design of this one.
I think this is a good card. I think you could see this getting a lot of play. I think you can definitely, in an aggro deck, being able to play it early. You're not going to, we already know Keith doesn't care about taking 5 to the face, get it out there and kill his opponents. I also think it's going to see some play because the Mana Thirst is going to let you play it later game, use it as a heal, which, you've got some heal resources for Paladin right now, but more wouldn't be bad. And I think you're going to see it sort of fit into different decks, which is what I think is going to be the difference as to whether you see a lot of these cards much. So, yeah, I think this is a good card.
It seems like a fine pure Paladin card to me. It can fit into some other archetypes too because of the Mana Thirst flexibility. 5/5 stat for 3 mana seems pretty good. Coin this out on turn 2 seems pretty good. So I'm excited. Seems like a nice card.
All right, Goldwing is a 4-mana 3/5 mech dragon. Rush, Battlecry. If you're holding a mech, game win fury. What do you think about this one?
No mas. Not a.
Yeah, why are you playing? I'm playing confused why you're playing mechs, but yeah.
Well,
this seems like a Brian Kibler card.
The Colossal. The Colossal's a mech. So if you're playing the Colossal and you generate this, you're not unhappy.
If it didn't require you to hold a mech, if it was just rush a 4-mana 3/5 with Wind Fury, you'd wonder whether you'd fit it into your deck.
I'd also be happier if it was a mech if the next card also was a mech, which it's not for some reason, and I know they said it's lore based, but I don't agree with the evaluation here. It's the 5-mana 4/6, the Pure Raider, Taunt, Battlecry. If your deck has no neutral cards, draw a minion of each minion type. So this is, I don't think, a good card. They also, like I said, it's a construct like the mech, it's a construct, but they don't give it the mech tag, which is fine. But like, what kind of
Why don't you think this is a good card?
What kind of pure paladin are you going to run that has all the different?
Night of the Dead is undead, and that tutors that. And then I don't know what else they play, but there's got to be some other tags, right? Like you can draw probably a couple cards off of it.
And that's fine. I mean, it's the tutor effects are good, but you have to really build your deck around this card.
Somewhat.
And you only have one.
I don't think it's as restrictive as you think, and it's just a better curator. And curator actually saw some play. I think this card is fine. I think that it will probably go into pure paladin, and I don't know what other type of architects that they're trying to push in the future, but this seems like it could go in that as well. So
I think it's an auto include for pure paladin. I think it's a really good card.
I can't think what in pure paladin, what are you running that has tags?
I'd have to go through a list, but I'm gonna bet that a 5-mana 4/6 with taunt, even if it only tutored 2 cards, and obviously you can alter your deck a little bit to play off of it more. I think it's still gonna see.
It'll get you a Goldwing. And like I said,
you can have my Goldwing.
You keep the Goldwing. I'll take the Night of the Dead.
Yeah, no, and if the Goldwing had the mech tag, it would be better. Mindseer, a 1-mana priest spell, Shadow, deal 2 damage to a minion. If it dies, deal 3 damage to the enemy hero. This seems solid.
Yes, I think this is a decent
I'm
card.
probably gonna get a lot of hate. Mind Render Alucia did nothing wrong. Unburn the Witch. That card, Shadow Priest, was insane, and I'm excited about this card. So hopefully, Shadow Priest will come back.
I think you're going to be a fan of any card that looks like it's going to potentially kill your opponent faster. That seems like the theme here.
I think.
Well, then he's probably not going to be a fan of Cannibalize, which is 4-mana shadow spell, destroy a minion, restore its health to all friendly characters. So this is not killing your opponent. This is healing yourself by destroying.
Yeah, this is why people say delete priest. Yeah, kill your opponent. Okay.
This is an okay card. I like that it restores. I mean, depending on what you destroy, it could restore a significant amount of health if you have a decent board. Obviously, to your hero as well. It's pretty targety. It's a little situational.
Well, it's actually kind of flexible because it says destroy a minion, so it could be.
Yes, it could be yours as well.
So,
you're right. It's not.
I like the tag that it says destroy a minion. It seems like it could be playable in these ungodly, terrible control priests that I hate, but I think the card is fine. I think it could probably be slotted in as playable. I don't think it's unplayable.
It also could be playable in like a Shadow Priest where you're summoning a 4/3 that does damage to the enemy when it dies, and you reborn it, and then you play this on one of the copies, and it does damage and heals you and keeps you moving forward. So there's potential for it, but it's fine. We have Rotting Necromancer, which is a 4-mana 5/4 undead minion, Battlecry, Dredge. If it's an undead, deal 5 damage to the enemy hero. This seems like it's going to be a solid card in the vast majority of the undead priests we're seeing.
I think this is a decent card too. Yeah, I like that they're bringing Dredge in. I think keeping some of the keywords that in the past they would come out and then it sort of would exist for one set and people would forget it ever happened. I think Dredge is a good keyword too. I think this is actually a pretty decent card overall.
Yeah, you know my least favorite part of playing Shadow Priest was playing that 4-mana Void Shard.
Playing Priest?
This is a better Void Shard, and it's a minion. I like this. I definitely gonna try some undead Shadow Priest for sure, and see what we can do.
All right, moving on to Rogue, 0 mana non-school spell called Ransack. Deal 1 damage to a minion. If you've played a card from another class, turn this. Deal 1 damage to a minion. If you played a card from another class this turn, deal 4 damage instead. This seems solid.
Exactly what I would have said. Solid card. It costs. Can't argue with the cost. Maybe they'll come out with cards that'll actually restore mana. Like a -1 cost card. An idea, but no, I think it's potentially 4 damage for 0 cost. It's hard to argue. Although it is minion only, you can't go face.
And it also feels like a miracle card, but you'd be playing this in Thief.
Yeah, you just go Buckler on 1 or something, and you can ransack something in response for tempo. It seems like a good solid card.
Jolly Roger is a 1 mana 1/3 undead pirate. After your hero attacks, summon a 1/1 undead pirate. So I'm assuming the undead pirate does not have the same text as the Jolly Roger. Otherwise, this would be like build your own board of Trogs.
No, I'm sure it's going to be a
one and done
standard one. But still, 1 mana 1/3 that summons a 1/1. You just have to hit something. That's not a bad card.
Yeah,
I think it's
seems
fine.
better
I don't
in
know
wild.
where it finds a home, but
seems like a wild card. In standard pirate, rogue isn't a thing, and I don't really see it in the future being a thing. If with all the cards that are in standard right now, I don't know what I'm saying. Yeah, it seems fun.
It seems fun. I don't know where it finds a home, but it probably does find a home.
This next
somewhere.
card is confusing
it's
to me.
solid.
Too much card text.
Stitch Creation. Stitch Creation, a 3 mana 1/1 combo, gain +2/+2. Infuse 2, gain +3/+3. Mana Thirst 8, gain +4/+4. Now, I really like this card because it doesn't do well early game, but if you can get this going off late game, it'll stack up quickly. I don't know if it's any good, but it's a fun card.
It's not. This card triggered me for the reason I stopped playing Yu-Gi-Oh. When Yu-Gi-Oh started printing cards with like 8 lines of minuscule text and you needed a magnifying glass and 5 minutes to read it when your opponent played a card that you hadn't seen before, I realized I was getting far too old for this game. That card text is starting to make me think of that. 4 lines, yes, it's half bold, and I understand there's numbers, but you need an abacus to be able to figure out what this card's going to end up doing, depending on when you play
I've got
it.
an idea, though. What if it lights up a different color for each one? Combo, it lights up orange. Infuse, it lights up blue.
So that you know what's... There you go. So you know what it'll
that
actually
way,
be
because
ready to
otherwise
play.
I have no clue what this thing is going to be. Like...
Or a little green.
Your best case scenario is this comes out as a 10/10 for 3, but it's going to come out as a 10/10 really, really late in the game. So that's probably unlikely. So what are you going to see it as more often? You're going to see it as a 5/5 for 3 mana if you combo it. Okay, that might be okay, but I don't see that working.
I think that you're going to need a little clippy to pop out and say, oh, so you want to play your Stitch Creation.
I want the card to light up.
I think it'll be a fun card. I think it'll. I don't think you're going to hate generating it. But I don't think.
I think I want to just
It's not
play
one
an
of the-
actual 3 mana 10/10 with a graveyard instead.
Yeah, that'll get you there.
Okay, Keith, I explained to him that you wanted the card to light up with 3 different colors depending on what was activated. They said they don't have the budget for that, so I don't think that's
Damn. I thought that was genius, by the way. I came up with that on the spot. I was like, you know what? I'm a genius. And just shut down.
It's not that
it's not that you're wrong. It's just, if you want to sort of GoFundMe for Blizzard, maybe they can integrate that at some point.
No, it's just because I'm stupid, so I was like, I know I'm going to mess this up. It's got to be like color coordinator or something, because I'm not reading all this. This is way too much.
So our neutral cards, we have a 6 mana 6/6 legendary, Rivendare War Rider, Death Rattle. shuffle the other 3 horsemen into your deck. And the other 3 horsemen, I believe, are 3 different 6 mana 6/6. One has rush, one has taunt, one has lifesteal. And this seems like a fun card. This is a card that
the end of the journey is destroy your opponent.
Right. The end of the journey. I'm sorry. The end of the journey is all 4 horsemen die. If all 4 horsemen have died, I believe, then you kill.
It's like a 6 mana
Cthulhu type.
It's like a 6 mana Cthulhu or whatever, like the Cthulhu. It's like a 6 mana Cthulhu almost.
Yeah. Like a 6 mana Mechathune. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
But you have to get. But you have to. It shuffles 3 cards into your deck. You have to draw them. You have to not get patchworked. You have to not get silenced.
I think that as long as the last one doesn't get silenced, I think the others it doesn't. I think the
right.
last one
No. That makes
like
sense.
4?
I think this is. Yeah, kinda. I think it's a fun card. I think that people are going to make it work. I think if this is ever good, that's going to be problematic. But I don't think it's going to be good.
It's a meme deck. I think it could be fun. I'm sure somebody can figure out how to use it better than what I can think of right off the bat. But it does seem really slow.
Yeah, there's no shot I'm playing this card ever.
Now we have
the opposite of your deck. I get it.
We have the polarizing card of Thaddeus Monstrosity, which is a 10 mana 11/11. On your odd cost cards cost 1, swaps polarity each turn. So the next turn, your even cards cost 1. This is a potentially fun card. It's going to possibly be good, I would think, in a shaman deck. I think that's the only place it'll actually be good.
Yeah, but you're not going to play it in your deck. You're just going to evolve into it.
Possibly. But, I mean, this might have the potential if you're playing some kind of Vandar shenanigans. I don't know. I think it has the potential there.
It's an interesting card.
It's an interesting card. I think one thing I did ask about, got clarification on, is that this card actually, the polarity, they refer to it, the swapping between odd and even, that happens wherever the card is. It isn't something where it starts out as your odd cost cards cost 1 and then it alternates to even. It may end up in your hand with that even setting. So it is going to happen regardless of where the card is. So you don't know what you're going to get when you actually get it in hand.
Wait, it can be a 1 mana 11/11.
No.
So your odd cost cards cost 1 swaps with your even cost cards cost 1. It swaps each turn, but it swaps wherever the card is, not just what's in your hand.
Yeah, kind of like the old Worgen cards that used to swap each turn. I don't know. It's a fun card. Someone's gonna find a way to break it, but I don't think it'll be. I don't think it'll be a meta stable. I think it'll just be there. But we'll see it's an interesting card.
Yeah, I think there's some possibilities. I'm too stupid to figure them out. Somebody else will, but we'll see what happens.
The best part about net decking. Let somebody else do all the fun.
Yeah. So we have a mistake, a 1 mana 1/3. It's an amalgam. This has all minion types. This card has potential depending on the kind of deck you're playing.
This is the best card in the set.
Absolutely.
This is the best card. This isn't my opinion that it's the best card in the set. I have been told by a higher authority that this is the best card.
Was that person BanditKeith because it's a 1 mana 1/3?
You're undoubtedly going to join in on that opinion. This card will be played in everything.
I think the card is fine. I definitely think it's probably going to be slotted into a lot of different things. The stat line of 1/3 is fine. The fact that it's all minion types is probably more relevant for other things.
I don't know if it'd be slotted into everything. I mean, you getting it from a higher power. Like, we thought Body Bagger was going to be in every single Death Knight deck, and it wasn't. So, this is the good card. It's situational, but like it's going to be really good when it's in those situations. It's a fun idea. They teased it a couple weeks ago that there's a mistake in the mini set. Oh no! We now have a 3 mana 3/3 undead Dark Fallen Shadow, which is Rush, Mana Thirst, gain.
Oh my gosh, Reborn. Yeah, it seems.
I mean, it seems fine.
Okay. It's
Yeah, I don't think this is getting played at all.
okay.
I was incorrect.
I was incorrect. I don't think this is getting played.
Who's playing this, man?
I-
It's 3 mana. What are you gonna? Why would you spend 3 mana on this? And I don't know.
This is a card that I think you're not going to be upset if you generate
it's
it.
got Rush, and it could have Reborn. Wouldn't that be fun?
It could be fun.
Can't sell this year?
I can't
Not
sell
for
this
not
year?
for me.
It's-
If I
it's-
want if it was a rush 3/4 and then maybe could get a value trade or something, I might be a little bit more inclined to like the stat line. Yeah, I'm not excited about the card at all.
And our final card is a 4-mana 5/4 undead. Loss. I don't even know how to say that. Exarch. Death Rattle. Spend all your mana. Summon that many 2/2 zombies with Rush.
So it's a druid card.
It isn't.
No, it's not.
Neutral.
It looks like a
Yeah,
druid
no,
card.
no. But
It doesn't.
I don't think this card's going to see any play.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I like the art on this one though.
It seems a little slow.
It seems a little slow.
Yeah, I could only see it in like a ramp druid or something as another scales, but that you just play scales. It's just better. So
And we've made it to the end. Well done, everybody. I think I kept us on track a little bit more than the Blizzard. We got a couple derails, but not too bad. Overall, what do you think of the power level of the set? Do you think it's going to change anything?
Why don't you say what you mean?
Why don't you say what you mean?
Be clear. Cut to the
Be clear. Cut to the chase.
I'm trying
Go
to
ahead.
keep it short and sweet. No,
I appreciate that. No,
I appreciate that. No, I think there's some fun cards in here. I think there's going to be some things that people are definitely going to play. Do I think it's going to? Is there a meta-defining card that's going to? No, people don't like it when that happens. They don't like when you break the game.
But they also
Oh.
don't like it when it doesn't happen because then
Yeah,
things
well,
don't change.
Maybe you haven't noticed that often people don't like things. Period. So
I think there's some fun.
I think there's some fun cards here.
You know what?
You can get the entire damn set for 2,000 gold. Just shut up and buy it.
I think people are confused about
Wait,
what they
I mean-
want. They need to be told what they want. So what they want is to shut up and buy it for 2,000 gold. That's what they want.
I'll give you another option that I wasn't aware of until I was informed earlier today. You can get the entire golden set for 10,000 gold.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. So it's no longer just cash only. Interesting.
I don't know that I'd ever care about spending 10,000 for the entire golden set, but if you want
Oh,
to.
here's another fun fact about me. Golden cards are ugly.
Wow. How do you really feel?
What do you think about the diamond card?
Yeah, disgusting. I hate the diamond cards. And the signature cards are very bad.
You heard it
You are
here
not
first.
Blizzard's target demographic.
Yeah, no, I'm very basic. I want to play good, powerful cards, and I want to win a game of Hearthstone. I couldn't care less about what the things look like.
And that's the interest. So to bring it to Snap, like I love that I want the cards. I don't want the variants. Like I think there's some cool variants. I don't mind having them. But give me all the cards first, and then let me worry about the variants. And that's kind of frustrating to me. But I guess we've learned tonight that Keith is not going to be buying or earning the Diamond Reno anytime soon. So anyway, this is officially, I think, the longest episode of Bread and Butter ever. So I think it's time for a little bit of dessert. Keith, where can people find you on the social medias?
Social medias, on Twitter, I'm BanditKeithHS. On Twitch, I'm BanditKeith91. Come check me out. Become one of the Bandit Bros and the Bandit Baddies. Thank you for having me. Sorry I'm a bit chatty, so we ran a little bit longer than expected.
You know, this is a podcast where it's an audio medium, so when people talk, it's actually a good thing. So
He doesn't pay extra for the time. Don't worry about it.
I don't pay. I don't. Well, no. I'll double what we pay you. JustAGuy, where can people find you on social media?
If you look really, really, really hard, you can find me on Twitter at JustAGuy66. You can find me on YouTube, JustAGuy66 for my YouTube channel. I do this weird additional content with somebody whose name escapes me for Be Good Studios and the Watch This. We do some focused, sort of mostly quick interview stuff with some lesser known creators that you might want to take a look at. You can take a look there if you'd like to as well.
And you can find me on Twitter and Twitch at Tito Santana HS. You can also email the show at breadandbutterhs@gmail.com. Anybody like to shout out today, Keith?
Just shout out to everybody that has supported me in the community. Shout out to you, Tito, for having me on the show. And I just appreciate being in the Hearthstone scene in the community. I just appreciate it. So shout out to you guys.
And no, thank you. JustAGuy, how about yourself?
You know what? I'd parrot the community shout out that I've always been amazed at how unbelievably supportive and helpful and decent the vast majority of everybody out there is. I would also give a shout out to my two kids who were kind enough to spare 10 minutes to tell me how wrong all of my opinions were about the mini set, so that I at least, wouldn't sound nearly as stupid as I would have had I come along with my own opinions. So I do appreciate that. So.
And I would like to shout out them as well for giving us a little bit of quiet time when I know they wanted to be probably watching some television. So, Sage Cora, we really appreciate it. And anytime you want to come on the show, just clear it with your people, and we would love to have you. I'd also like to thank the both of you guys for being on, especially since JustAGuy, you filled in at the last minute today. And Keith, I've been talking to you for about 5 days now, and I've already kind of roped you into two things, so appreciate you there. And I also want to thank Dragon Rider, who I've also been roping into a couple projects again. And finally, Kesa Cat, who is starting to do some artwork for my stream and my community. And I'm really happy with that and excited to start actually getting some branding done. So thank you, Kesa. I'm very happy with what she's doing. And on a side note, while it looks like we're here to stay, this is our 15th episode. We have no plans on slowing down or stopping the show. We're gaining an audience. We appreciate everyone that's listening. So we're kind of at the point now where if you guys feel like it and you like the show, give us a 5-star review somewhere so it can help other people find the show. I'm told that's how it works. I'm told that Apple is the best place, but hey, you say nice things about us anywhere, we will gladly use that to help promote the show and get more people. Word of mouth too. We're small enough where if you tell somebody else to listen and they do, that helps. So we would appreciate that. That's the end of the show. Thank you for sticking around for so long, Keith, JustAGuy. I really appreciate you having on. Hopefully we do this again.
No problem, man. Congratulations on the show, man. Hopefully continued success and that it keeps going for you.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We're toast. See ya.